Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Naboa Creations. Again, your girl Naboa with some cocoyam recipe with some veggie sauce. So we're going to go through it, and you can try doing this recipe. And if you do like it, give me a comment or give me a thumbs up, and I will appreciate it very much. That gives me the boost to do a bit more. So we're going to get started, and I hope you're going to like it. So I had my veggies, I had my cabbage, carrots, some green beans, I had a bit of salmon there, some fresh tomatoes that are cut, rosemaries, and some spices of choice. I chose thyme, parsley, used a bit of ginger, habanero pepper, and some nutmeg is what I used. So you can use any spice of your choice. I added some onions as well. So I cut my veggies very nicely, washed it and cut it, and then that's what you can see on the shelf. So I had my carrots. I cut it very nicely. I went diagonally. You can cut it any shape of your choice, but I wanted to do it this way. I use sunflower oil. You can use any oil of your choice. So let's get started. So I had my pot on fire, waited for it to heat a little bit, and I poured a bit of oil in the pot or in the pan. I try to use as little oil as I can, because at the end of the cooking, if I need to add a bit more, I can drop in some olive oil. Cut my onions into big chunks and fried it. I try not to overcook my veggies, so I just fried it for about a minute. And then I will be adding my habanero pepper, which I use my mortar and pestle to mash it and add it to my sauce. I normally like a bit of a kick, so if you want to minimize the amount of pepper you use, that is very fine, but this is how I like it. So I rinsed the mortar and pestle and then added it to my sauce. I cooked it, fried it for about a minute, and then added my tomatoes. So you can have tinned tomatoes, puree tomatoes, or fresh tomatoes. But if you do use fresh tomatoes, try and get rid of the seeds, because that can make it a bit bitter. You need to stir in between as you cook, otherwise it's going to burn. It's got tomatoes in it, so reduce the heat a little bit, and then you can cook it very nicely. So I added my garlic flakes because I didn't have fresh garlic. So I added my garlic flakes. I had some thyme, and then I had some other spices that I used. So you can choose whichever one you want to use. Once you know that this is the garlic flakes I am adding there. And then I had a bit of ginger. I think I didn't have any fresh ginger, so I used some ginger powder. So whichever one you use will taste absolutely beautiful. So stir in between, as I said, so that you do not burn your stew. Reduce your fire and then add your spices. So I stirred in between, and then I left it on fire for it to cook for about 2-3 minutes. Once you see that the oil begins to form on the stew, then it means your sauce is almost ready. I added a bit of salt here, salt to taste. You try and reduce the amount of salt that you take, because it's not very good for your blood pressure. So you just put salt to taste. Then I had my salmon, which I added. It was in the freezer, so I added to the sauce. It would cook with the heat, so I didn't have to wait for it to thaw before using it. I took the skin off because most of the time it's got the scales there. So I poured water on the back of it, and then I peeled the skin and added it to my tomato sauce. So the heat is going to break it up and then fry at the same time. So I added my green peas, which is harder than the others. So I added that And then I added my cabbage on the side. I stirred it for everything to incorporate, and then I covered it for it to cook. If you think that your sauce is a bit tight because the tomatoes were not a lot, you can add a little bit of water, not too much. So I added a bit of water for the cabbage to become a little bit soft before I added my carrots. So just stir it in between, as I said, so that you do not burn your stew. I hope you're going to try this recipe. You eat it with either yam, cocoyam, or rice, whichever one you choose to eat it with. Once your sauce is ready, you can decide what to eat it with. I had some fresh rosemaries, which I had washed earlier. So I took the stalk off it, and then I added my rosemary to my sauce. Left it on fire for about a minute. So that was the water I added for my veggies to cook. Not too much, about 5 tablespoonfuls will do, depending upon how much cabbage you are using. So leave it on fire for it to cook. And then once you know it's nice and tender, you can then add your carrots. So the carrots is what I added last in terms of the veggies. I had my nutmeg, grated it, and then when I put my carrots in, I added my nutmeg. The veggie stew is coming together very nicely, I think. So that was my nutmeg going into the stew. Remember to stir it, otherwise your stew is going to burn. So this is looking nice. What do you think, guys? This is my star pepper, which is paposhito, as the Ghans will say. The small green peppers is just to garnish it, and it gives you a bit of a kick as well. It's very spicy, so if you don't like spicy food, then you can avoid it. It's very optional. Remember to clean your pots and the sides everywhere so that your food looks quite presentable. You don't want your sauce to be looking anyhow with the things around it. So I clean it, make it look nice and clean. So that's my cocoyam. You just have to wash it and peel it very nicely. It's part of the tuber carbohydrates, which you can get spinach, African spinach from it. So peeled it, washed it nicely, and I cut it to my preferred shape. You can make it round, you can cut it diagonally, or you can just cut it into 2. But this one was quite big, so I had to shape it a little bit. Cut it into my desired shapes, and I boiled it in water and a bit of salt. So that's the cocoyam. That's how you see it in the market when you go look for it to buy. And ta-da! My food was ready, set on the table to be enjoyed. I hope you're going to try this. Let me know. Remember to stay healthy, eat healthy, try and do some exercise, and I think it's going to do us some great good. Hope you enjoy this cooking, and you're going to give it a try and let me know. Thank you. Bye.